Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CKC channel. I'm your host, Fear Master Calvin Klaassen. And welcome to the Reflections show. And this is episode 2 of season 2. And we've our first episode was with special guest, the International Master Daniel Caudry. We had a lovely session with him. He showed us a couple of games as well. And you can check it out on YouTube. Just go to the Calvin Klaassen Chess channel. So tonight we have someone just as special and someone that has done a lot in South Africa and abroad as well, and everybody pretty much knows him wherever you go. I must admit, when I have traveled around with him, he's probably the guy that most people recognize and say, "Oh, are you that guy?" and so and so. I'll let Lyndon introduce him properly. He's been on the show before, but it's always a pleasure to have him. And just a reminder, guys, if you are new to the channel, just press the sign up button. If you're not familiar with Twitch, just get yourself a handle name. Basically, it's for free to sign up and come back to the channel and press the follow button. Once you've pressed the follow button, you can then chat with us in the chat box. And please throw in your questions early for Watu. Okay, I've spilled the beans actually there. So throw in your questions for the special guest, but let me not hold you guys any longer. So I'm gonna hand it over to Lyndon so that he can do our formal introduction. So yeah, welcome to the Reflection Show, guys. Over to you, Lyndon.
Thank you very much, Calvin, and good evening, viewers. Good evening, Calvin, and also to our special guest tonight. Our guest tonight is International Master Watu Kobese, who is known in Africa as the Lion of Africa. And Watu is a very good friend of ours here on this Twitch channel. He participates in many opportunities and events. But many people will know Watu from his chess prowess. Watu was a very young prodigy. And after starting off as a prodigy, he's continued with his success. And Watu has won multiple South African closed championships. He's won 4 of them. He's also won a number of SA Opens or tied for the SA Opens. And then Watu, one of the greatest accomplishments, in my opinion, is the number of times you've played at the Chess Olympiads. And for me, just for people that are listening, I need you just to listen for a moment. Watu Kobese has represented South Africa at the Chess Olympiads 94, 96, 98, 2000. He then missed 2002, and he then continued 2004, 06, 08, 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, and 2018. That is a whopping 12 Olympiads and more than 100 games for South Africa just at the Olympiads, without counting the other things. Watu Kobese, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's great to be here, and I think it will certainly be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Watu, thank you very much for agreeing to come on the show tonight. Watu, how did it all start? Because I mean, when I sort of first read about you, because you were staying in Johannesburg, I was staying in Port Elizabeth, and all we saw was some kid playing in some tournaments there in Soweto and in Johannesburg, but you were beating everybody. Tell us, how did it all start?
Yeah, well, I started playing actually when I was 4. I was lucky in that basically it started with the Fisher's Basket match. That was before my time. And, so my dad and everyone in Soweto, they sort of got hooked on chess because of that Fisher's Basket match, 72. Yeah. And after that, they made many clubs in Soweto. Many clubs were established. And then they used to also play on weekends, against each other at various venues. But they would use, so they'd play at home. Then the other week they'd play at someone else's place. So it was like a social thing,
Yeah.
Guys would prepare food, sometimes braai and this and that, and some drinks, and also play. It was a very nice atmosphere. And obviously, there was a lot going on, and I was curious, and I would watch. And then, and somehow my dad taught me then. you know, the game. But also my also taught my sisters, by the way. And yeah, then I started playing. But as I say, you know, I was lucky because the guys are already tournament players, and they
Yeah.
were already studying a few chess books. So you know, I think I maybe used Scholar's Mate for just a few weeks, you know, because after a few weeks I understood that it doesn't work, and
Yes.
you know I had to do something else. So yeah, that's where it started, and there were always very strong players available to play against, and so I kind of improved pretty quickly. And there used to be one event in Soweto that time. It was the Standard Bank event. It used to be in December, and you know, we're talking about like late 70s now, and it was quite big prize money then. I mean, first prize was 100 rands, and it was a lot of money in those days. And we had this one gentleman who was dominating, Ishmael Lalisa. He was about 1900 strength, and yeah, so you know, playing. And but for me, the first success I would say was when I was 8. I won a first event, but that was obviously with adults playing. But he wasn't playing, Mr. Lalisa,
Ishmael.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, and from there I never stopped. You know, just went on playing.
Watu, in fact, you know, I was debating with somebody a few weeks ago as to probably whether or not you're the most successful Swiss player in the country, because you play a lot of Swiss events. But we'll come to that in a moment. I want to get to 89, and my recollection sort of is you met Ludek Pachman. You were playing in the SA Closed, and how did that come about? Because the next year you were whisked away to the Black Forest there in Germany, to the Ludek Pachman School of Chess. Tell us a bit about how it happened and your years there in Germany.
Yeah, so 89 was sort of my most successful year, I would say. You know, I just remember that my first serious study, you know, of chess. Well, I was always studying, you know, but I mean,
Yeah.
the first serious one was when I got the first chess informant, and I remember it was volume 44, and that was the yellow one. That was 1987. So
Right.
you know, I got my first informant, chess informant number 44 in 87, and I was just paging through this and got to learn the information. I mean, the language, you know, the universal language, you know, plus equals, plus over,
Right.
minus, you know, all that, and started going through the games, and yeah, I was just sort of astonished, you know, at the information, and then I started sort of working pretty hard, uh, well hard. I mean, I just started going through all the games, and I did that for about 2 years, I guess, you know, looking at various things, end games, and just anything I could get my hands on. I don't know, that informant sort of ignited something, you know, in a sense that I just started loving researching, you know. I started looking at various openings, the codes. It was interesting for me, you know. C00 is the French, and you know, and C19 is the Vinava, and you know, you know,
Right.
and
Right.
and so on, and but then in 89, I basically won all the tournaments I played in. You know, starting the January used to be a tournament in the Free State, and you know, I won everything, and then yeah, Pachman and Kessler came over on a fact-finding mission, and they were allowed, you know, especially to play in the SA closed, and
Yeah.
that was my first SA closed. No, it wasn't my first one. Let me see. It was my first. I think it was my first SA closed. It was in Secunda,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and in the very first round I played Charles. I remember, who was the defending champion, and I beat him. I managed to beat him in the King's India, and went on. Actually, I was leading the event. You know, I drew against Kessler, who was an IM from Germany. I drew against Pachman, and I was leading most of the event all the way till I was beat by a guy called Frank Konstanski. Then I think I was leading till in the last round I lost to Mark Rubrick, and then Pachman and Kessler
Okay.
jumped over me. But I think I was the first South African in that closed. And then yeah, after that, Pachman offered me a scholarship, you know, to go to Germany, and sort of to study chess, you know, at the chess school. And
Yes.
yeah, it was a big opportunity, you know. I mean, which I agreed to, and yeah, it was very interesting. It was about 11 players there who were playing chess sort of seriously. And I remember a week I used to do about, with the coaches, I did about 6 hours. So I would do, there were 2 hours we would do with the group. So everyone would be in one group, you know, setting, and we would be taught by a GM. So our first trainer was Pachman himself, and he trained us for about 6 months, I would say.
Okay.
So, you know, I had 2 hours with him. Then I had 2 hours one-on-one with him as well. And then I had 2 hours with another trainer, Beutelhoff, Josef Beutelhoff. He was about probably 2250 strength, organizer and feeder arbiter and so on. And he was the organizer at the school, you know, like he would organize trips and everything. And he also had a big library at his place. So we would all go, you know, it was before the databases and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So in order to research, we would go there, and he had all of Pachman's books lined up. He had all the informants from one. He had, you know, encyclopedias. He had all of Averbach's endgame books. He had a number of original books. For example, the Smyslov Levenfish thing he had in Russian, and he had in German and in English. I mean, like, you know, some very nice.
The whole Rook Endgame series. Yeah.
Yes. A whole nice library which you could go and research. But then, I would spend also 2 hours with him, you know, and because at the school I would get free time for English, you know. So whenever I was free, I would go over to his place, and we would sit and we'll be working on something, researching. It was mainly research and end games. Then after a while, I didn't play any tournament when Pachman was there, just learning. And I remember the first thing he said, because I was playing very sharply, he kind of said, you know, for me to improve, I must stop playing the Sicilian and stop playing the King's Indian, play E5, play against D4, D5, Nimzo Indian, you know, because I was learning all the positional games and classical games, and I did that, a lot of suffering. Then the next trainer who came was a very, very interesting trainer who was different from Pachman. His name was Miroslav Vogt. Miroslav Philip, Grandmaster. Now, Philip was actually,
yes.
I don't know if you know about this gentleman. He was a candidate, actually. He played in the candidate tournament. He played in Curacao in 62.
Yes.
He played in 56, I think. He played a number of tournaments.
Yeah.
And look, he was coming last, but these, you know, they were legends. You know, we talk about Petrosian, Keres, you know, Fischer, Goric, Olafsson, you know, and then he would be last in the tournament. But nonetheless, he was making it to these events to qualify. And he wasn't really much of a trainer as Pachman was, but he was, what he would do, he would just show us his games and tell us what he was thinking. And so it was like an introduction to, it was something to shoot at, you know, it was something that you would try in your own games to get to his level, you know, of course failing, but learning, you know. And what I used to love the most, by the way, with Philip, because he knew Fischer, Pachman as well, because I'm a big Fischer fan. And I used to ask them about Fischer, you know, because there were stories that were not in the books, you know, that these guys would tell me, you know. I'll tell you a fantastic story. I'll tell you a story from each of them, right? Which is not in the books. Anyway,
Okay.
there's a story. Pachman is playing a number of events in South America. This is 1960. Fischer played a couple of events in South America in 1960.
Yeah, the Mar del Plata,
And
they played
so he
that
meets
tournament.
Pachman, but because Pachman speaks English, there's a friendship that comes.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were lagging there. I didn't hear, or I was lagging.
No, that's fine. I was just saying the Mar del Plata tournament was 1960. I recall
Yes.
Fischer playing there. I think he lost the King's Gambit or something.
Exactly, right. So anyway, it was 2 events, I think. Anyway, so they become friends and they start to analyze, many games. They're analyzing, there's time before the events, and Fischer and Pachman shows Fischer his analysis, in one variation, shows him his analysis and so on. They show each other analysis, but Pachman shows him this, and he's got this special novelty, And Fischer, Pachman says, you can't imagine how fast Fischer was in terms of analyzing. He had a very sharp eye, apparent from Pachman. And Fischer, he saw the refutation of the line, technical refutation, very difficult, but he saw it. But he didn't tell Pachman. So, he kept it, and it went on. So what happened is that there's one tournament they were playing together, and they were the strongest players. So they are going through the field, they are beating the field, and every time in the mornings they would go they would walk around, but then Fischer tells Pachman, prepares Pachman's opponent. Okay, so Pachman plays this variation he showed Fischer. And he's actually happy that he gets the variation. And he says, wow, I get the variation. I analyze this with Fischer. He's feeling confident, and he plays this variation. And then the opponent, bam, 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 destroys him, right? And then he says, so he tries to hold on. And all the other games on stage are finished, like it's the old Grandmaster tournament, he's the only on stage with audience. Anyway, Pachman is lost. He resigns at some point, okay? He says, as he resigns, because I think the guy is South American, so the audience is clapping. And Fischer bursts through the tournament hall and he starts shouting, I beat you, I beat you, I beat you. Not this patzer here, I beat you. So he climbs the stage and he tells Pachman with the audience that he beats him, And Pachman is like, he says, he's shocked, like, what the heck is going on? Anyway, so the tournament goes on, and then Pachman says, okay, I'm gonna get this guy. Now, okay, Pachman didn't see anything in Fischer's analysis or anything, but Fischer showed him. So the day before Fischer plays this opponent, Pachman saw him at at breakfast. And then he went and sat with him. Okay, so he's playing reverse psychology on Fischer. And then he goes on a walk with the guy. He says they talk about nothing. He's asking him about his family, and it's social. It's a social thing. But Fischer, because they always used to walk with Pachman. So Fischer also goes walking, but then he sees Pachman walking with his opponent, and they're talking and laughing. And Fischer gets paranoid, and so on. And then Fischer plays the opponent, and he says Fischer was so uncertain. Each and every move, because you have to remember that Fischer is suspicious that Pachman also saw something, So every move he's playing slowly, unusually, unsure, and he lost the game, and then they tied first. And then I'll tell you another story. A story with Philip and Fischer. So anyway, this is in Curacao. So in Curacao was it was an island, so it's the candidates tournament, and each candidate. So apparently it was very hot by Philip's, what he told us in the story. So, and each of them they got something like a cone, exactly. But they got each got a condo type of thing, but it had these these grass. It's like a hut. It has a grass. It has a grass roof. You know, right?
Yeah.
But very nice and everything. You know. Okay. But anyway, one of the days they noticed that Fisher's thing condo is burning. It's on fire. So everyone is running and you know, it's like it's chaotic and throwing water and everything. And okay, anyway, the fire is contained and Fisher is fine. And but remember, you have to remember in 62, Fisher is young. Yeah, he's like he's very young. I think I don't know how old was he.
He's 19.
He's 19. Yeah.
He was born in 43. He was born in 43.
So he's 19. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, and everyone is much older, of course. And then so after a while, when things have settled, Philip asks Fisher, you know, that what happened? What happened? You know. So Fisher says there was a cockroach. Okay. He was sleeping, and then this cockroach crawled on him and scared him. Okay. So when the cockroach scared him, Fisher caught the cockroach and put it inside a glass. Then he you know, those in the olden days, there used to be those irons, you know, the irons that you had to heat up and stuff like that, right? So Fisher heated up in some way 4 irons, you know, right? And he put them like that in a square. Then he put the cockroach inside to punish the cockroach or something, right? Then he went back to sleep. And that's how his thing caught fire. You know, so it was, but I'm telling you, you know, so you can imagine, you know, I was like, you know, you spend time with these guys, like they were like, especially Philip, it was like an encyclopedia of chess, you know. And I'm telling you, like another fantastic story he told me, it's not in the books. You know, Bronstein lost to in 1950, Bronstein lost to Potvinnik, World Championship.
12.
And Bronstein was leading.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, he was leading, and he lost somewhere in some game, some strange game, yeah. Right? But he was completely winning, and he would have been world champion. So anyway, Philip says, you know, Bronstein, he says, you know, Bronstein, you could have been talking to him about anything. You know, he says you'll be talking about the weather, okay? And then somehow that Potvinnik game is gonna come in. You know, he's gonna say, yeah, you know, yeah, it's hot today, you know, and so on. Kind of it reminds me of the day I played Potvinnik and then I missed. So, yeah, then he mentions how he would put that in any chance he gets, you know. So yeah, it was a fantastic time. Yeah, it was very nice. Yeah.
No, those are defining moments as well. So I mean, Watu, you know, somebody warned me that we were going to need 2 sessions with you, and I can see that, Calvin, we will have to invite Watu back because there's just too many stories. But let us do, Calvin, 5 minutes where you ask some of the viewers questions, because there has been some questions in the chat room, and then I will come back as well. So, Calvin, over to you with 1 or 2 questions.
Okay, yeah, I'm back, guys. Interesting stuff over there. Always good to hear the stories from Watu. Thanks to everybody in the chat. As of now, we don't have many questions, just from one guy. So please, guys, give us more questions in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. So we've got a question from, let's see, from I think it's Bearded Zaid. Just get to this question. Oh, yeah. So Bearded Zaid is saying, to Watu, what are your top 5 chess books that impacted your play the most throughout your career? So usually we ask for 1 or 2 books. Bearded Zaid wants to hear your top 5, Watu, if you can give us an idea. Thanks, Bearded Zaid, for the question.
Wow. Okay. Well, yes, top 1, but in terms of influence, yeah, on how I on chess, on my chess. Top 1 will have to be Think Like a Grandmaster. I think it was then, you know, an amazing book. And for me, it was an amazing book in a sense that it showed that, you know, the difference in thought. Because, you know, the most important thing is in chess, it's not the opening, and I've learned so many lines in chess, as you know, Kelvin, and I'm sure the viewers also. Openings don't mean anything really. Well, they're important, of course, but the most important thing is, how do you organize your thought? When do you think? What do you think about? What and one book that pointed me in the right direction, and I was quite young when I got this book, was Think Like a Grandmaster. That's why I saw that there are two parts of chess. There's the positional side, which you have to make the positional considerations, and then you've got the tactical side, which is the variations. And just that. Obviously, I must admit, when I first started reading Think Like a Grandmaster, it was difficult to follow, especially how he wrote it, with the tree of analysis and the kind of moves. Very difficult to follow. I didn't follow 100% what he was talking about, but I remember I learned a lot from the very first. Remember in Think Like a Grandmaster, when he writes on the part on analysis, he puts a position. He says that it was like I think he asks metal workers or something. He gives them a position, and it's an attacking position on the king side, and they have to analyze this, And I remember I put the position on the board, and I analyzed for many hours, and then I looked at the solutions, and I was like, wow, I was wrong in many, in my approach, but I mean, it showed me the way. So that's definitely number one. Number two was Nimzovich, my system. Definitely. Number three was The Chess Struggle in Practice by Bronstein, and that's where basically my understanding of chess, so to speak, came about. I was very lucky to get hold of this book, and I remember I went to it was a library. It was an old library copy, big, thick. It was white, a cover. Then,
yes,
and descriptive notation, of course.
Yeah.
And I read it from cover to cover, and then I was obviously looking for it to try and buy it, which I did some years later. That played a big influence on me as well. Then the fourth book was a book by. It was called How Fischer Plays Chess,
Okay.
And you had various chapters there, how Fischer, homemade openings. I think that was the first chapter. Then, what was it? Fischer the book, Fischer the magician, Fischer the machine, something like that, like various chapters. And but it kind of introduced me to how, to the difference between what you know and putting it into practice, and the idea of unbalancing the position to beat the opponent. I mean, so that was definitely a key book for me. And then then there's nothing else that comes to mind, but
Okay.
there's lots of books by like Petrosian's games, Karpov's games, Spassky's games,
Best game collections.
Best game collections after that. But before that, I think those four books
Okay.
were
All right. Thanks, Watu. That's quite a lot of nice books. We should take note of, viewers out there. Just take note. Definitely have a look at these books. Thanks, Watu. So the questions are now finally pouring in. The viewers have got this tendency, like chess players, to be a bit late. So let's see. Question number 2 from Scariest Name. That is, of course, everybody knows by now who that is. That is Vero. September. So welcome, Vero. He says, and Vero always comes up with interesting questions, Watu. So Vero says, does Watu have a loss that he brings in every conversation? So yeah, that sounds like a Vero question.
No. Luckily not. Luckily not.
No.
Okay, that's a clean answer. Thanks. Okay, so following question is from Sibo23. Who do you consider the strongest young players in SA right now, with the potential to be IM and maybe GM?
Whoa, Difficult question. Okay, look. Wow, very difficult question. Well, look, there are many strong players at the moment in South Africa. Definitely, let's say talented. Maybe first, let's use talented. Those that come to mind would be like Keith Banele, Paul Glackman, Keegan Agalas. Let's see who else comes to mind. Okay, Daniel Parrish. I don't know if one can still consider him.
I was gonna say he's still a bit young, yeah. So I would also throw him in there.
Yeah, I'd throw him in. I would throw him in as well. Okay, maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but okay, this is just what comes to my mind as you know, strong players. I think that, you know, that the person who has the most potential, though, to become a grandmaster, if he keeps at it, is Daniel Parrish. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Daniel has got, he can work hard, you know. He can work, he studies, and that plays an important role. But the other guys, they don't have a work ethic, you know, as yet. They like playing blitz and so on, but it's questionable. You know, their work ethic is questionable, and without a very strong work ethic, it's very difficult to improve, because, you know, unfortunately in chess, it's you have to change how the brain thinks, you know, and I always say that, and the brain is a habit, it's a creature of habit. You know, the brain has got so many things to do, you know. It must remind you of breathing, it must pump blood, it must pump you. It doesn't have time for it to remember some obscure line that you studied 2 minutes before the event, you know. It doesn't have time for that. So you gotta work with your brain, you know. No, it's the truth, right? So you know, so the brain likes shortcuts. On things that are not important, the brain likes shortcuts. So you'll find that when you play chess, you have a set way you play, a set way you think. And in order to get better, you gotta break that. And breaking that means, whoa, you have to hammer. And we're talking about months and months and even years. You have to work hard for at least 8-9 months straight, every day, 3-4 hours, you know, to change the way your brain works. You know, you gotta work on tactics, print disciplined, do this, do that. And then after those months, without you knowing it, I mean, I'm sure we've all gone through that. You play a tournament and then you are shocked at what you see, because you've changed the way you think. You could see all those things before, but now your approach is different. Now you're no longer erratic. Now you're no longer there. Now you are, you know, this kicks in, that kicks in, that kicks in, and everything is structured, right? And now you can move forward. And if you ask me, you know, that's also okay, I don't want to stay too much on the youngsters, because it will seem like, you know, one is a bit unfair. We can even say the top players. Why are we not becoming, the potential is there for sure. Why are we not becoming grandmasters quickly? Well, for that reason, the way we play chess is set. And we don't have enough players in the country to show us otherwise. So we don't have players moving around the country that will show you your defects. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, if you were to say, let's take 20 players, 2650, put them in the country in some miracle way. And every tournament you play, there's like 6 of these players, right? So every time you're playing your normal nonsense, I'm gonna call it nonsense, because why I'm calling it nonsense, it wins in South Africa. You play and you win a tournament, no problem. But now when you play like that, you get punished, right? You get punished. Yeah. So now you start to realize, wait a second, you know, my approach in the end games is wrong. So now you go and you work on the end games, and now you come back. Now you've all of a sudden improved 60 points. Now your approach is better. Now you start getting draws from these guys. You understand what I'm trying to say? So this is the issue, you know. So us as top players, it's difficult for us to knuckle down. It's possible, but difficult to knuckle down and say, I'm going to work 7 months. It's difficult for what? You understand what I'm trying to say? Because
Yeah.
you can already play the SA close and win it. You can already play the SA open and win it. You can even play the Africa individual and win it, you know, if you're on good form. So it's difficult to really knuckle down and say you want to change. So, but for youngsters, it's necessary. Everyone has to bet, you know. Yeah.
Now, Watu and Calvin, I still want to go back a bit, Watu and Calvin. I know there's some more questions, Calvin, but we'll take them later on again.
All right, sure.
Watu, we've dealt with some of the Germany years now, and I want to deal with 1995 when you became an international master in Botswana. And I mean, you were 21 years of age, and you were playing in this tournament. You were playing with Michaelakis there, and one of our previous guests, Patrick Lee Ying, showed us a game that he beat you at that tournament. But of course, you went on still to win the tournament and become an IM. Can you recall that event, Watu, in Botswana in '95?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that event was actually sort of the breakthrough event, you know. It was the one event that kind of, you know, said to me, no, you know what, like, play professionally, you know, try to become strong in chess. Because before that, I had played my first Olympiad in '94. And I don't know if you were going to ask me, but I'm going to throw it in as well.
Yeah.
But, in that Olympiad, it was very interesting. The first half of the Olympiad, you know, it was just tough. You know, I mean, I got half out of 5.
Half out of 6.
Half out of 6. Wow.
Yep.
And was getting clobbered, you know, and was tough. It was very, very tough. But then something happened. There were 2 rest days, and I went and studied, you know, Kasparov's book on the rest day, Fighting Chess. I just went through it, you know. I went through the you know, his King's Indian games, and for some inexplicable reason, you know, I kind of zoomed in. Something clicked. I just started sort of, you know, being in rhythm, I would say, with how he used to be when he was playing, especially the King's Indian, you know. And you know, and okay, then I went on, and then after that, I got 5 out of 6 with 2 draws. You know, I mean, I was sure, you know, just I wanted this tournament to go on and on and on. I mean, I remember I played Fernandez from Portugal, who was already 2,400 international. He later became a GM, but I was so much on form. I mean, I crushed the guy quickly, and I remember when we were having supper, you guys were asking, like, what happened there? I said, the guy must have been drunk. I mean, he played so weakly, you know. I didn't know, you know. But yeah. But anyway, you know, but when I started with that momentum after the Olympiad, because then I had this sort of this eye in terms of what it takes to play against these guys, you know. So I started working very hard. I just started working very hard from when I came back. I didn't stop. I just worked hard, and I was just working, you know. I was waking up, I remember, in the mornings, and I would study. I was putting in some 6 to 7 hours, you know, in a normal day. You know, I was finding the time and putting it in, and continuously. I did this for like 6-7 months. So then I played this tournament in Botswana, and I was still young, but I'll tell you this funny story. I was so confident. I didn't sleep for 2 days. You know, I went partying in Botswana. You know, I came on the first day, and I went out to party, which is I would not recommend to any youngster, but I did it. I went out to party, didn't sleep, came back, brushed my teeth, you know, had something to eat, and then I played against George, first round, beat him, like, you know, crushed him, went to party, didn't sleep, went to party again, came back, played Dion, because, you know, you had to play there was a ruling, you had to play against South Africa first. You know, like, all the countries had to play each other first, so that you can't fix the tournament at the end. And I played Dion, and I beat him as well. And, you know, so then after that, it was like plain sailing type of thing, you know what I mean? And so that event was, but then I lost, of course, to Li Ying. That was my only loss. I was better. I was actually winning. Then I made some mistake somewhere, and then he played well after that. And yeah, but I went on to win the event. Yeah, and that was sort of yeah.
But that was an important, as you said, an important breakthrough event as well. We'll come back to the Olympiad in a moment. What with that level of preparation now? Now let's go straight to the Olympiads, because I mean you've got a phenomenal Olympiad record, and I always tend to think that when you're playing against a grandmaster or a super grandmaster, you tend to play even better, because this is an opportunity for you on that stage. How do you prepare? I mean, 12th Olympiad that you've played, over 100 games. You've played the best that there is. I mean, Daniel spoke about your game against the USA, against Nakamura, 2008, Munich. We know that you've played great games against Georgia for Bulgaria on board 2 in 2012. But I mean, you've got so many. How do you prepare at Olympiad level for these top players generally, Watu?
You know what? Actually, I'll tell you something interesting that I always felt. You know, I always felt that every time, you know, there's something interesting. Let me put it this way. You know, from the very first day I played chess, that means, you know, when I started playing my first tournament, you know, I always wanted to beat my opponent. Always, you know, I always, when I sit down, I'm playing for the win. Whether I'm playing with the white pieces or the black pieces, I always want to win. You know, that's been like the mentality that I had when I was young. And I was lucky that it worked for me, you know, for a number of years. But then what happened, it kind of programmed me, you know, to do that. And in a way, there is something funny in chess, because when you're playing chess, when you are sitting there and when the opponent plays a few moves, I mean, I experienced this even in the SA Opens. You know, I'm still answering the question. In the SA Opens, when I'm playing against weaker opposition, look, there are players who can fake. What I mean is that everybody would like to beat you. Everyone would like to beat Carlsen, right?
Of course.
And there are players who will fake the confidence. You know, they'll come there and sit like that and this, you know, but it's all fake. And at some point you pick it up without using the eyes. I don't know, I can't explain it. There are some other senses that take place, which I cannot explain, but you pick up and you become very nervous when you pick up an unrated player who really wants to beat you. And this guy wants to beat you. And this guy, you can tell he's prepared, and he's not happy with anything else but to beat you. And when you sit there and the first few moves are happening, you feel it. You know it. You know, as I say, I cannot explain how it happens. And I'm sure you guys have felt that as well. You feel it. You say, oh, this is it. This guy wants my head, you know. And he will want your head, and you are nervous. You are rattled. And it will go on till the guy makes a mistake. Okay, the guy will make a mistake. It might be a mistake in positional understanding. It might be a mistake in opening preparation. Only then will you settle. You okay? You feel like you've escaped. Not the chess, but the aura of the guy. Okay? So I always feel this whenever I play these guys, whenever I play them, as I sit there, and because that's how I play, you know, I pull my arms up, not just that, not for show, nothing. I want the guy's head, you know?
Yes.
And I have not played against one chess player who has not been scared. I don't say I didn't beat them, but everyone I play knows I want your head. And I'm not going to be happy till I get it, you know? So
that's what you need. That's what you need.
Yes. And I remember in many you know talks in playing some many open tournaments with other players, you know, players who grew up in Russia, amongst top players, and you share the room with some of these guys, and you show them your games and what you are thinking their games, and they always get shocked, like, you're playing for a win against this guy. And I'm like, I play for the winner against everybody.
Against
They say you're
everybody,
crazy. You know, they say you're crazy. You know, and I say, how do you play? You know, and he says, look, I mean, I grew up in Leningrad. You know, when I grew up, there was this guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, you know. And I guess that was my advantage in that, you know, I was like one of the strongest guys all the time, you know. And and I never had this opportunity, rather mentality of playing for the draw. I never play for the draw, you know. And it doesn't matter who I'm playing, you know, it's gonna be tense, it's gonna, you know. So that for me is my preparation. I feel that, you know, the preparation is it's mental. It's a mental type of preparation, and you know, it's in a way unfortunate in that we haven't had many top events in South Africa, because if we had them, we would have some kind of a formula. I feel, you know, you would have some kind of a formula in terms of how do you condition yourself to get into a certain mentality, a mental, you know. So unfortunately, you know, you find that all the time when we play against these top players, it's in unfamiliar territory, you know. I mean, Moscow was like a nightmare, you know, completely cold, and we're staying in this hotel forever, and this and that, you know, and the food is foreign and everything is foreign, and it's just much harder to get yourself in the mood and to get yourself in, you know. So in a way, it's more like a hit and miss situation. And I've had situations where I managed to zoom in, and you know, and I mean that mentality, because I feel that in chess, you actually lose, you win or lose before the game. You know,
now
that's
what?
that.
What we're going to have to do, because Calvin, there's a lot of questions in the chat room, Watu, for you from all over Africa, because people from all over Africa have tuned in. So Watu, you're going to have to unfortunately promise me to come back in about a month's time, because we only got until 95 with you, eh? And I still have a whole 2 decades to go.
Right.
So Calvin, I still have many questions, but I want the viewers to have the opportunity. So Calvin, I'm going to hand over to you to ask questions, and then probably Calvin, at about 8:10, we can go over the 2 games that Watu has prepared for us. So Calvin, you've got 15 minutes to pose the questions and Watu to respond. Watu, thanks. I'm obviously will come in after 10 minutes. Calvin, over to you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thanks, Lyndon. Yeah, so
Okay.
so yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get Watu on again. He's been a regular visitor on our show, so we're happy for that. So I'm gonna continue in the order that the questions are asked, only to be fair, like I always say. First come, first serve with the questions, guys. So the next question that we have here is from Lekwa. Lekwa was saying or asking, do you still aspire to be a GM, Watu? And when are you going to release your best games book?
Yeah, actually, I still absolutely want to become a GM. It's still my you know, it's still part of the dream, I guess. Yeah, best games book. Truth be told, you know, when I go over my games, I don't feel like, you know, I feel like there's still some games that I still could play. But certainly it will come. You know, the best games book will definitely come. There's lots of very interesting games. They will not always be wins, but ideas and so on. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question.
All right, thanks, Watu. And then the next one is from Kasi Chess. Kasi Chess says, IM Kobese, how can you improve in your games when you read books and try to apply what you read and you fail to apply it or just get outplayed? What can one do when you have information but fail to implement it?
Aha, very good question. Well, the thing is that you need to in today's world, you are lucky because, you know, when I was growing up, you had to play tournaments and you had to treat them as training tournaments. You know what I mean? You know, you didn't have any other option. But I think in today's world, there's players all over the world. The key thing you have to understand is that when you read a concept in chess, prophylaxis, let's say you are reading about prophylaxis, you have to understand that, you know, you can't just read about prophylaxis and then that's it, full stop, and now you're going on as normal. It's a waste. It means nothing. When you play, you will play every time the same old nonsense that you're playing, right? Okay, let's not call it nonsense, but you'll play the same way that you're always playing, right? What you need to do after you've learned a certain concept, you've looked at examples, you need now to, I always say there's two things that you have to do. Number one, go through classical games, find games. Don't be lazy. Find the games. For example, let's say prophylaxis. You know, now there's prophylactic players. Petrosian is prophylactic. You know, Rubinstein was a prophylactic player. Smyslov, some prophylaxis he was using, and a number of Russian players. But, you know, study their games and no, without annotations, and find prophylaxis. Okay, as you're going through the game slowly, say, prophylactic move. This idea, remember, prophylaxis is not the same as mate in one. Prophylaxis means you have to really study because it's about the idea. You have to see what the other guy's idea is. And then you have to see this move stopping this idea. Then you say, oh, great, prophylaxis. Then when you can do that, you take that game and you put in a folder. That it's a win for you. Now you are able to see prophylaxis. And then you go over, and then you start to see prophylaxis all over the place. And then after you've seen prophylaxis in 10, 20 games, it's a lot of work. Then now you start now to come to your own games. As you're still doing that, now you want to play, and somewhere you want to play prophylactically. You are playing, and then at some level, at some point, say, hey, wait a second, opportunity to play prophylaxis. You see, now you're improving. So every aspect of the game, if you're studying the end game, study the end game, change your openings, some of your openings, to go to the end game. You know, start playing against the King's Indian, take on e5, take on d8, go to the end game. Rai Lopez, take on c6, play d4, play queen takes d4, go to the end game, right? Go to the end game, and then what you know about the end game, try to implement. It's training. When you don't implement that, you know, I say it many times to my students. You know, it's like you're going to war. You've got this bag with all these weapons, but because you are used to always using the knife, you don't even open the bag. You're just always using the knife all the time. Even in inappropriate situations, you're just using the knife. But you're carrying this bag with all this weapon that you have. It's the same in chess. You've learned all these books and you know, prophylaxis, bishop pair, trading one advantage for the other, everything, advantage, you know, two weaknesses. But if you're not implementing it, you don't know it. So that is my advice. Implement it. But implementing it means you have to train for a long time. That's why, you know, even for, I always go back to us as the top players. That's why we as top players find it difficult because, for example, we don't have trainers at that level. What would the trainer do for us? For me, for Kelvin, the trainer would not teach me anything new, but the trainer would teach me a concept and the trainer would drill me, right? The trainer would drill me in that concept. And then I'll go to play those games and I'll try to implement the concept. You know, there's a story in books about Tao. There's not Tao, sorry, Spassky. When Spassky was growing up, that he started working with this trainer Tolush, and Tolush, and Tolush told Spassky, because Spassky played differently. He told him. So they were working on concepts, and of course they had done many examples. And he says to Spassky, in this tournament, I instruct you to sacrifice. He forces him. He says, you will sacrifice. you see? So he's forcing him because but he doesn't say it just out of there, just like that. No, they've obviously worked on it. He's drilled him. Now he says, I know you don't like to sacrifice. I know you go sacrifice now. You see? So that's the whole point. You need to apply the application of whatever it is that you're learning. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Watu. I think that's good insight into that subject. So lots to think about, guys, and to implement. So next question is from Hibernator. That's of course a former guest on the show as well. Okay, so but he says, how do you see the current strength of SHS, Watu?
Not good. You know what? I will tell you something interesting. 1994, I play my first Olympiad. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are so young, you know. I mean, Dr. Bouah is a member of the team. We are young boys, you know, hungry, strong. And I'm telling you, when we used to play, you know, especially in the second half, first half we had problems. Second half we started to play. And I'm telling you, we were like, the rest of Africa would come and support us. They wouldn't believe what we could do on the board. And I'm talking about the rest. I'm talking about Egyptians too. You know, I'm talking about guys coming in awe and supporting us. We were the strongest team in Africa, full stop. Okay, the other teams had strong players. You know, you had Amdushi there. You had forward El Taheb there. You had these players. Yes, okay. You had Bouaziz.
Yeah.
You had Bouaziz. You had these players, of course. But as a team, you know, as a collective, they didn't have a team that could hold their own, you know, against the strong teams, upset them, you know, push them and so on, you know. And we were first in Africa by a distance, okay, in 94, 96. I mean, I'm counting all these years. And then, unfortunately, you know, something happened. We never worked on our chest. We never found a way to improve our top players. I mean, I will make an example. In 1997, I play a tournament in Cairo, okay, and I'm leading. There were some GMs, and I'm tied first in this tournament, and the Egyptians are in awe, and one of them says to me, just to show you how it's reversed, it says to me, "How are you guys so young?" You know, because we had an African team event that we played there, and the rest of the guys went and they invited me to stay over, and I stayed over in Egypt, and then I went to Tanta, another, not in Cairo, but another place, Tanta, went by bus anyway, and said, yeah, but how are you guys so young? And you know, our guys are all old and little options of becoming GMs. You guys are so young, you know. And but anyway, as I was in Egypt, I had played before Grandmaster Rouses. Okay, his ego has been involved in some crazy thing now, you know, about cheating and so on. But anyway, look, the guy is actually like, I mean, you know, a personal friend, and he's a very nice guy, by the way. Anyway, I played a tournament in Portugal with him, and I beat him in that tournament. And then I saw him. I was going to the pyramids, and by chance, I saw Igor there in the pyramids. I said, Igor, what are you doing here? You know? And he says, oh, you know, I'm here, man. I'm just taking a break. I said, what's going on? He says, I'm teaching these two guys here, you know. There's some boys I'm teaching here. And I say, you know, do they have potential? He says, oh my God. I mean, you know, oh God, you know, I mean, I'm it's like banging my head against the wall. Oh, but I'm here, you know, I'm on a contract. I have to be here for 6 months to train these boys. Oh, you know. I said, what are these boys? So some clowns, you know, some guy by the name of Bassem, Bassem and Ahmed Adli. I was, oh, okay. And then before you know it, these guys were obviously like 2,700, 2,600, you know. So I'm just making an illustration of what they did, what we did not do, you know. And in Southern Africa, I mean, I read on Facebook and I laugh when I know the Zambians like to puff up their chests out, you know, a lot, you know. But you know, okay, yes, they are very interesting players and a good, strong team, of course. But when we were playing, I mean, they were not even existed, you know. They didn't exist, all these teams, you know. And but they've caught up with us, lots of them, and probably even overtaken us. You know, so in terms of South Africa and strength, it's look, we have the players, you know. Let me put it this way: in South Africa at the moment, we've got old players who are still who are talented and strong, and if they dust themselves up, they can come up and fight in some events. but generally, there's no depth, you know. After I can count some 8, 9 names as South African chess, and after if I exclude these 8 names, it's over. it's over really. So in terms of strength in South Africa, I'm sorry, we haven't invested, and we are not strong at all.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Watu. We've got a couple of minutes left, so maybe one more question, and then Lennon can indicate when we're going to switch over. So the next question is from Dr. Queenie. Dr. Queenie says, what are you doing to keep your chest strength up during this COVID time? And is there anything specific that motivates you to keep training?
Yeah, well, I do a lot of actually, I mean, it's horrible. I'm playing a lot of bullet. As funny as that sounds. Okay, but in a serious way, I'm playing bullet. But when first, a little bit of part to question 2. Why am I still training? Well, I'm training because I've qualified to play in the Olympiad, and I don't think I don't have too many Olympiads left, not because of strength, but I just think that, at some point the fun and the excitement, goes away, so I don't know how many times I will still want to play Olympiads. So I'm running out of Olympiads, I would say that, I've got maybe 2 or 3 left, and but I've qualified for this Olympiad, so I have to still, that's my motivation, to still be, I must be at least semi-ready, not completely cooked, but half cooked, so that if I need to cook, I just oil myself up and I'm ready, type of thing. And how do I do it? I have a very simple method, for a working person, which I may share. Play 2 games of bullet, because bullet is fast, but play it seriously. Play 2 games and stop at 2. Very difficult to do. Stop at 2, play 1 game with white, play 1 game with black, stop. Then go to your database and look at the 2 bullet games and look at the 60s, what guys used to play. Work on that. Do some 30 minutes on that. Work, see what you should have played, what was played, what are the plans, what is going on, today's strength. Do a little bit of analysis, do a bit with the computer, move pieces around a little bit, store that thing. Go to your second bullet game, do the same. Now, the nice thing about these bullet games, I find, is that, in bullet, you're always playing within a certain range. It means your rating goes up, 100 points, goes down 100 points, but you play against the same opponents basically many times. You've seen that, right? You'll always see the guys that you play against coming back. So when you do that work, you see the improvement, and that is what is going to make you keep working, because then you play these guys and now he's going to play the same way, but now you've worked on it, and now you go before he anything happens. And especially for me, when I play and I beat these guys GMs, and I crush because I've worked on it. It's very nice, it brings and it keeps you going, Yeah, that's my answer.
Fantastic. Thanks, Watu. I think that's actually very important information to actually stop after 2 games or that amount. Maybe I would say maybe not bullet, but maybe a 5-minute game or a 3-minute game, because sometimes these guys play crazy stuff in bullet games. They can play complete, but I mean whatever works for the individual. But I think that's great advice for us to hold on to. So yeah, thanks to everybody for the questions. I don't know if we're gonna have time for the rest of the questions. There's still 1 or 2 or 3 left.
Let's go. Let's give the viewers what they want.
London, are we okay to go on with that? And then we can just
do 3 more
we
questions,
can just maneuver the games.
3 more questions, and then we go to the games. Because I think Watu, we've only gotten to 97 now, where you go to Egypt. So I still have many other tours to go on with you. So we'll get back to those ones. Kelvin, let's ask the 3 questions from the viewers, and then we'll go to the first game.
Okay, so the next one is from Cassie Chess. Cassie is saying, how do you establish a working ethic? So I think you've spoken a lot about that. What I don't know if you want to add anything to that. But we've spoken a lot about it.
Very quickly, 1 game at a time. I mean, 1 day at a time. Don't bite off too much. Do 1 day and do it realistically. Don't say, I want to work on chess, I'm going to work for 6 hours. Don't do that. Don't do it yourself. Work on your chess 30 minutes. Say, I'm going to work 30 minutes, but serious. And work every day for 30 minutes, religiously. And keep doing that. Before you know it, you can increase from 30 to an hour, and that's it.
Okay.
One game at a time.
Thanks,
Watu. One day at a time, sorry.
Okay, and then a couple of jokes in the chat box, and then Charles Eigap is just saying hi here to Watu as well, from the president of Namibia Chess
Hi,
Federation, and he says hope the
Charles met Fisher, by the way. You know that?
I think he mentioned it
when
he was on Reflections.
He didn't only meet him; he talked to Fisher. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that is something special. And he was asking about the Leco game, but luckily Scariest Name did tell him that we did that already on a previous show. You can check it out on YouTube. And then Bearded Zaid is asking about the Polgar game. We're going to see that shortly, Bearded Zaid. Patrick Lee Ying, of course, your opponent that got a point from you from the Zonals. He's also there. There's great memories. Watu of Botswana, 1995. And Cassie says it's great to hear that even the top guys get nervous. And Brapela's in the house as well. Guten Abend. That must be German, Watu.
Guten Abend, Pelle.
Guten Abend. Yeah, my German is a bit bad. Great show, guys. Let's see. And then, yeah, a question here from Charles is, when will Watu ever play in Namibia? And I think that's I think that's maybe the last question for the chat, and then we can switch over. So yeah.
Yeah, I would certainly love to. I would certainly love to. Unfortunately, I missed that African individual that was in Namibia. There was something that came up that, but yeah, I would love to. I certainly would love to. I would love to play in all the Southern African countries.
Okay, and thanks, Watu. And then maybe now that I'm realizing that we're just one more. It's actually a type of it's a Scariest Name question, basically, Vero. So Watu, wait for it. Here it comes. So does Watu prefer level 5 lockdown or stage 5 load shedding? Yeah. Okay. So that's a conundrum over there. Thanks, Scariest Name. But yeah, I'm good to go on this side, guys. I'm ready to switch over when you are.
Right. Thanks, Kelvin. So one of the nice things about playing in Namibia is that Namibia has been a good scoring ground for South Africa. Kenny got his Grandmaster title there. Donovan van den Heever got his IM title there. Denise Furk at that stage, now Bouah, won the Zonals in 2014. So Namibia has been a good run for South Africa. So we look forward to that one day when you go to play in Namibia as well. So Watu, we're going to go over to the study now, and we're going to do a game from the 2014 Tromsø Olympiad tonight first, and then we also have a second game as well. So viewers, do stay tuned as well. Kelvin, are we ready on the channel with
yeah, we are at the chessboard. We are at the chessboard. We've got.
What do you guys want me to do? Should I go to?
So you should go to our study, the one you were at earlier on. So you can just basically enter.
What we've added you to the study.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the first game, which is you against Abdel Aziz.
Yes.
Okay, so basically you can go ahead, Watu, and you can even explain and draw arrows and so on.
Yeah, you can tell us where you want to stop and all of that, but you go ahead, Watu.
Okay. Yeah, this game actually happened in this event, Olympiad, and we're playing against Morocco, and it's one of those important matches because we always try to be we're aiming for first in Africa, and strong countries, and we're always trying. So this time we got to play against Morocco, and unfortunately we lost, and I was part of the reason why we lost because this game very early I made an error and then I was lost. But nonetheless, I want to show this game because this game is one of the most creative games I've ever played, and we can have a look.
All right.
Go ahead, Watu.
So anyway, when I played against on Code, I didn't know him. I mean, IM 2383, but some of these countries in Northern Africa, they they have the advantage over us because some players they stay in France, and then they will choose then to play for the country. Like for example, there's this GM who plays now for Algeria. Yeah, what's his name? Okay, that's not coming yet, but I mean, you know. So yeah, I think Onkor is this type of player. I didn't really know him, and okay, he plays D5. Can you guys see my board?
Yeah, pawn takes
Yes,
D5.
yes, we can.
And queen takes D5, knight C3. He played a number of things, and D4, knight F6, and knight F3. I think he surprised me with A6, something like that. I wasn't expecting him to play this particular variation, and the problem was that, you know, in this line, I had a lot of analysis because, of course, Stefan, you know, matches against Stellenbosch.
Yes.
He plays. No, Stefan Wagner.
Yeah.
Oh, Wagner.
He plays it a lot, yes.
He plays it a lot, so I have a lot of analysis, but I did not remember it, you know. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to play 95, just to have a game. He plays 96. I took, and then okay, I understood immediately that he's going to play quickly. I mean, he's going to play some bishop G4, castles long, E5, and the position is a little bit uncomfortable. So I started now to play sort of okay, D5 first. He can play many things, so he plays queen D6, bishop E2. So my idea here was that I can play queen D4, and then queen D4 will make it difficult for him to castle long, because I would have some queen A7 in some lines. That's sort of the idea. Then he plays B6. He's going for the pawn. He's going to play bishop B7, castle long, put pressure on the pawn. So I started to play sort of tactically to create problems for him. So queen D4, the idea is to play bishop F4, hitting the queen immediately, and I can also castle long, but you know, queen A4 check would also be possible. He plays E5, queen A4 check. Now he plays bishop D7. Okay, so I was like quite happy here. Okay, he cannot play queen D7, of course, because of bishop B5 and things like that. But bishop D7, I was happy because now he can play bishop D7 and attack my pawn immediately. So I play queen H4. He plays bishop E7, queen G3, and he castles. And right here is, you know, sure, one of the most creative ideas I ever had. Actually, now here I set a trap for him. So what I do, I realize that if I play F4 in this position, well, he cannot take, because, you know, bishop takes, and then I can castle long
C7,
and C.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Tota.
No, I was just going to say C7 would also be under attack in some lines.
Yes, C7 is under attack, and quick development for me, you know. So after F4, knight takes D5 is sort of the move, right? But you have to remember, when I play F4, I've opened this diagonal. So there's a pattern against me. My queen on G3 and my king on E1. So keep that in mind. So I play F takes E5. Now after F takes E5, yeah, exactly. Now anything he plays, for example, if he plays queen E6, I will play knight takes D5, queen takes D5, bishop F3, and attack the rook on A8. He can't play queen A5 check because I play bishop D2, bishop B4 C3, right? And A8 is hanging. So in a way, this I could see all this idea from afar, but he's got one very smart idea. You have to remember that we should not forget about that pattern against me. So he plays queen B4 here. So now what's happening? He's going into a pattern, a pin, and at the same time he's threatening bishop H4.
Yes.
But okay, this I've seen, no problem. So now what's happening here? We have to remember that the knight is hanging, okay? And this is the concept.
Yeah.
So I play A3, queen D4 is forced. And now in this position, I play knight takes D5. A fantastic move.
Ooh, okay. And you're allowing bishop H4.
Yes, I'm allowing bishop H4. So, okay, if queen takes D5, I will play bishop F3. And and even bishop H6 is also possible. So anyway, and I remember after knight takes d5, I looked at his reaction, and I saw he wasn't really impressed, you know. So he plays bishop h4.
Okay.
And now my whole concept comes. I saw this all the way, you know, when I initiate this with f4, way before, from move 14. So now the king has got only 2 squares, g8 and h8. So now I play knight f6 check. King h8 is the only move.
Oh.
Okay, bishop takes f6. I take back and I'm a piece up.
Yeah.
So king h8 is the only move.
Piece. Yeah.
It's just a piece. And now this is completely winning position. And this is my idea. For some inexplicable reason, I blunder here. Some inexplicable reason. It's my intention all the time. What I have to play here is I must play c3. Now, when I play c3, you cannot play bishop takes queen because I will play pawn takes bishop and checkmate. And queen cannot defend. Right?
Yeah.
This is my idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Right? And if after c3, you play queen a4, it's the only square to defend the bishop.
Yeah.
Then I play b3 and then you can resign. Game over. Game over.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, game over. What should you play? I mean, if you play bishop takes pawn, I take back. And if you take the knight, I take the queen, I'm a piece up.
Yeah.
And you cannot defend the bishop. And it's over. The game is done. And here, this should have been, it should have happened and resigns. And
has a beautiful concept. Beautiful concept over there.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I cannot explain it for some reason. I just blunder here. And what I did, I completely somehow forgot. It's like a finger fella type of thing, you know. And for some inexplicable, I play bishop e3. This is a blunder. And now he plays queen a4, a4. But now the problem is that he's got queen a5 check.
Yeah, I mean, there's a check. Wow.
There's a check. There's a check. It's like now I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? And yeah, and I don't know. But you know what is scary? The why this game is so upsetting. It's move 19. It's 10 minutes into the game. And the point is that the match is very, very important. I mean, I beat him, I play c3, queen a4, b3, and you guys know how the matches are. The match will tilt to our advantage. We probably crush Morocco, right?
Yeah.
We crush Morocco, as simple as that. And now I play this blunder and queen a5 check. Now I can resign. And the only thing I'm playing is because it's obviously a team tournament. I can resign. Yeah. And now I just went on and I mean I can't resign because the team and lost. But what was but it was one of the most beautiful concepts I ever created on the chessboard.
Yeah, that's something nice. That's something very nice there, Watu. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
it's a pity. I mean, the bishop e3 to like, it's like you said, you learn certain stuff and you automatically want to do it. Like bishop e3 is like such a natural move to play compared to compared to c3.
Yeah.
So
but you know, try to be more accurate, try to be whatever, and just miss that queen a5 check. I knew I'm winning here, but I don't know what possesses me to play bishop e3. Yeah. Just c3 and the game is done. So that was memorable, but not so nice.
Yeah, I think that deserves a diagram or something in one maybe.
But Watu and Calvin, isn't this the answer to Vivo's question about which game Watu can always talk about the one that he lost?
Maybe.
This is that answer to Vivo's earlier question.
Yeah, perhaps that's the case.
This could qualify for sure.
So yeah, just something from the chat, guys. So one of our new followers, UN times ZA. I answered your first question, but the rest of the other question about how to attain titles, we will maybe leave that for a bit later. Let's try to stick to the game for now, guys. We don't have too much time. And then Cassie Chess is saying, yeah, this is very impressive. Darkhound says, wow, top quality. Charles says, great game. Allah, IM Watu. And then Casa Chess says it's those in between moves. Yeah. So yeah. Just forgive us, guys, if we don't get to all the questions. Time is against us as well. So yeah, thanks, Watu. This was a brilliant one. Great concept. It's a pity you couldn't finish it off the way you wanted to.
Yeah.
So, but what's the next game we're looking at?
The next game we're looking at is the game I played against Judith Polgar. So I played this in 1998, and she's in the top 10. And let me paint the picture, you know, of the scene sort of for you. So it's a World Cup, and there are two groups. So I played Polgar, but I mean I was playing against monsters. After this game, I lost all the games. Close games. Some of them were happening, like the Anchor game. For example, against Vescovia was completely much better. You can check it in the database. But I played Judith, then I played Vescovi from Brazil. I played Ian Rogers from Australia. I played Hamdoushi from Morocco. Lost. Then I also played Anatoly Karpov, who was in '98 world champion, by the way.
Okay, of course.
That was nice. And the game made it, by the way, to the book, to Kalifman's book. You know that book where it says opening series, Black according to Karpov, something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It made it into that book.
Nice.
That game. But anyway, let's talk about this game. The more pleasant one. Those were unpleasant. Let's talk about the more pleasant one. So this is the first round, and what is happening is that there are two groups. Gelfand was there, Ivanchuk played, and in the other group. But anyway, what is happening is that there's an audience. So you go. There are four boards. Three boards. I think there are three boards that play at a time, and the rest of the players and the audience sits. Everyone sits and watches this game. So one of the most amazing things about this game, you know, after the game, it's a very nice game. So I'm walking out, and one of the players who comes and congratulates me is obviously a guy whose book I had started reading from when I was 8, none other than Anatoly Karpov. And he shakes my hand and he says, "Well played," you know. I'm like,
nice,
wow,
nice.
That was a nice moment, you know. Anyway, let's get into the game.
All right.
So I'm playing Judith. And of course, one is nervous and you don't know what to expect. So she plays Dara Lopez, and okay, immediately when she plays Dara Lopez, I'm quite happy, because you know it's like, you know, I'm not gonna be wiped off the board quickly. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So okay, we follow theory. Okay, and this line here, knight c4. This line actually was introduced to me by Ludek Pachman, and he explained some, intricacies about this line, about the square d5, how the knight drops back to b6. About we did an old classical game. There's an old Rubinstein game that is part of this. For example, you know, if white closes d5. I find it beautiful even today. There's a maneuver that Rubinstein played, and black, not immediately, but black will play, I'm just gonna move the king up and down, just to show this maneuver. You know, black plays this maneuver here in preparation for an oncoming attack against, you know, on the king side. You know, black will play like some g6, let's say something like this, you know, knight g7,
knight gets to f7 eventually.
Exactly. Wow. You know, I mean, it's one of the most beautiful maneuvers that I've ever seen. You know?
Trap around the board over there. Yeah.
Beautiful. How to organize, you know, and then once everything is there, is stable, now we go on the queen side and we play, you know, typical Rubinstein. And anyway, you know, that was part of the ideas that I had learned about this position, and we studied also Petrosian's games, a lot of Petrosian's games, and you know, so it was like it's one of those examples that, you know, I felt like I really understood well, because it was explained very well to me by, you know, a top grandmaster, you know. And anyway, so Judith plays b3, So b3 is a variation. However, you know, one of the advantages is that the square c3 is weak, and b3, there is an opportunity to play a5 and a4 to break and get counterplay on the queen side. So that is always welcome. So anyway, bishop e3 was a new move by Judith, bishop e3. Now, however, my understanding of the position proves works in my favor here, because you see bishop e3 not in the same position, but there was a game, a very famous game, you can check on the database. I think it was played 1958, if I'm not mistaken, Soviet Championship. Tal played Petrosian.
Okay.
And Tal played in some instance Bishop E3. It's a very famous game. And the main idea was Tal had was knight D2, F4, and Petrosian didn't stop this. And Tal played, but Petrosian had to exchange, to sacrifice the exchange. Petrosian played like Rook C8, Rook C6, Rook G6, no, Rook F6, Rook F4 as an exchange sacrifice to stop the attack there. And there were other games also. Another very important game was a game that was played between Karpov against Unzika. I think this one probably, when was this one?
The
in the
bishop
70s.
The bishop a7 game, Watu.
Not the bishop a7 one. No, actually I'm wrong. It's not Karpov. It was Hübner. Hübner played once white against Unzika in 1990 or so. And he also played with this bishop e3. But the main idea of bishop e3 nonetheless is to move the knight away and to play f4 and to attack black's center. So the idea now, so g6 is a very strong move, because the idea is that when the knight moves, knight h5 is played to stop f4. This is very important. So then once I stop this, she changes plans and plays queen d2. I continue with knight h5. And knight h5, the idea with this move is, you know, if d5, for example, is played in this line, let's say, you know, in these lines, then we have this bishop f6. And remember when I talked about that c3 weakness, and we start to see it now creeping into white's position, because in some positions, black can play knight f4. And, you know, all this is possible because of the square c4. And by the way, when knight f4 is played, when you don't take it, I will play c4 next and knight d3. It's a typical plan in this position. And then if you take with the white bishop, then I play bishop g7, f5, and the white squares will get you. So either way, So either way, you know, in this position, it becomes very difficult for white, because either the black squares are going to be a problem because of this weakness on c3, or the white squares are going to be a problem because then I will sacrifice a pawn on d3. You know, I will play c4, knight d3, and then f5. So I suspect that Judith, of course, she knows about this plan, and she plays immediately, very quickly, g4. But g4 is a very risky plan, by the way. But there's another important game, g4, that it helps to know. As I know, you know, when I played this, I was armed, you know, because I had worked with, I basically had grandmaster preparation, because I was prepared in this system. We had many lessons with Ludek Pachman, you know, and Pachman had steadily taken us through all those games, and he had explained them, you know, the subtleties and what you are trying to do. So, you know, when I played this position, I was very comfortable, because I felt that my understanding of the position was at grandmaster level, maybe even super grandmaster level. And I didn't feel like I was outgunned in any way, you know. But talking about g4, there's another very important game. You know, that is what I also advise, you know, some of the viewers. You know, when you are playing a certain opening, you need to have games that you've seen. It helps a lot when you see the games that have happened, you know, on certain structures. It does help you, and it helps also with confidence, because you know what you're doing. Anyway, there was a game with g4, not exactly the same position, but a game that was played in 1979 between Kasparov, a young Kasparov against Petrosian, and Kasparov played g4 at one stage. You can check on the database, and Petrosian played h5. You know, And so that's the remedy to this G4. So anyway, I played knight back to G7. Against another player, a weaker player, I would have been tempted to go knight f4 directly, and sacrifice the pawn and control the black squares. But the problem is that, it's Judith. And I felt like her queen is there. She can play e5. I'm going to get checkmated, if I do something like that, So, one of the advice that is given against a very strong player who's tactically strong and dynamic is you must keep the center locked. If you keep the center locked, it's as if you're holding their hands, they're not able to swing as easily. So I wanted to keep the center locked. So I'm just locking the center, keeping it tight here. So now, of course, the threat is h5. She plays knight g3, of course, and stops this. So now what shall we do? Well, a lot of prophylactic thinking you need in a position like this. So prophylactic thinking is you think what the opponent wants to play. So what does the opponent want? Well, because the opponent has weakened the king side, the opponent is now playing with what we call a short-term plan. It means that if white doesn't knock me out here, the danger is that the endgame is going to be bad for white, of course, because white has pushed too many pawns. So white must knock me out. So white will probably go king h2, rook g1, rook g2, rook a, g1, knight f5. This is what white, then bishop h6 and everything, So this is what white wants and to knock me out. So what I need to do, I need as quickly, but these are many moves, as quickly as possible, I must establish counterattack and force her not to be able to carry out her plan. So a5. So she plays king h2, a4, bishop h6, and now I play rook f c8. Well, rook f c8, I would like her to define the center, because if she defines the center, I can move my pieces to the queen side. So she plays d5, and now rook a6. Now I want to play rook a8 to get counterplay. So she plays rook a d1. I was happy to see this move because I felt like she gives me the a file too easily, But she wants to attack. She wants to attack quickly, and we should not forget that this is also a rapid game. It's 25 minutes, so it's not a reflection of her strength completely, Yeah. So anyway, I take and I play rook a2. Now I'm starting to have threats. For example, if she plays rook g1, continuing with her plan, I play b4. I'm using the pattern, the pin, right? If she plays c4, I will play knight takes c4. And after b takes c4, I will play b3. And I have complete counterplay. Yeah, I will take and just a lot of counterplay I will be having on the queen side. So she plays rook e2 to defend against this threat. But I play anyway b4. It's still there. So she plays queen e3. Now I must take before she locks. Before she locks the center. If she locks the center, she will transfer pieces to the king side. So I take, and now bishop to b5. She plays there, then rook a3, rook there, okay, and then she plays bishop b1. Okay, now the first part is gone, but I'm happy because I'm not getting checkmated. So now the key question is now I need to ask myself, now this is where all the training that I did with Pachman and Philip and Vogt kicks in. Because the key thing in middle game strategy, when you have a slightly better position, I feel like it's better slightly, you must concentrate on improving the position of your west place piece. This is very important. It's Makakonov wrote about it. And okay, so now I start to think, what is my west place piece? And my west place piece is my knight on g7. My knight on g7 was good when we were expecting an attack, but there's no attack coming. So how to improve the position of the knight? And then I sketched the way. What about knight e8, knight c7, knight b5, and knight d4? This would be a lovely way to improve my knight, and my knight would actually exchange with one white's strongest pieces, which is the knight on f3, because the knight on f3 holds the black squares. Also important, when you are making positional considerations, you must think about the pawn structures, right? And white pawns on h3, on g4. Can you highlight this, Kelvin? Are you able to highlight?
H3 and G4.
E4, E4, and D5. They're all on white squares, which means that the black squares are weak. So once the black squares are weak, it means that the black square bishop is one of the most important pieces. And if I can exchange that black square bishop, then all of a sudden the black squares would collapse.
So you said, so what do you said? Knight to E8, knight C7, knight B5. That's your long-term idea.
Exactly.
As well with that. Okay, interesting.
Exactly. So improve the West place piece, exchange one of the strongest defenders of the black squares, then exchange the black squares. That is sort of the idea.
Okay.
So I play queen e8, and then she plays queen b2, okay, no threat, knight e8, bishop e3, knight c7, and she plays g5. Now it's very important when you're playing a strong player to always be on your toes, and you must always ask yourself, what is the idea now? So her idea now is to play h4, h5, king h2, and play on the h5. That's what is coming now. So now, however, because it's also very good to play many different openings. You know, I also play the Sicilian Dragon. And in the Sicilian Dragon, if your bishop is on g7, even if the h file is open,
you're safe.
You're safe. You can't get checkmated. You can always defend, you know. So first thing is to get the bishop there before this plan comes. So after she plays h4, she weakens g4. Now bishop d7. We're carrying on with our other plan, but now you know exactly. So she plays king g2, knight b5, h5, bishop g7, because now it's important to understand that she also could start defending because the position is collapsing. And how she will defend is she will play h6. You know, if we play, I don't know, whatever, something, you know, let me just make a wild move. She'll play h6. Now, this is a prophylactic move, would be a prophylactic move on her side, because then she buries my bishop on f8. My bishop on f8 is now not in the game and might find it difficult to come back. So that is why it's important to play bishop g7 before she plays h6, so that I must go on this diagonal. This diagonal I can stay alive because I can always play f6. Open, yes. So she plays h6, bishop h8, bishop d3. Now I'm much better. So the key thing now is not to mess it up. Knight d4 is a good move. Attacking b3. She takes. I take back with my pawn, liberating my bishop. Also,
you've gotten rid of that dark squared bishop now of white that you wanted.
Exactly. Now the black squares are collapsing. Bishop g4, queen takes, rook g1. Now I've just won a pawn. Now it's very important. I must still tactically. Now she comes. She's gonna create chaos and she's gonna blow open the center and can still be dangerous. I mean, we talk about one of the most dangerous attackers here. You know, she can play king f1, knight h5, whatever. She can still get very dangerous. I still need to keep the center locked, and I still need to control. So this was important to calculate. Knight takes, bishop e4 because I'm going into a pattern. Knight b4, queen c4, bishop a6. All these moves I calculated. Queen c1, d5. Very important to see this. Now queen takes a3, bishop f1 check. Very important detail.
Nice. So that.
And yes, then I play bishop f1 check. So it was very important. Then I keep the center locked. So that was the defining moment of converting, because then once I can do that, then I know I will convert.
Yeah.
Right. So she plays bishop b1. Okay, now it's lost. Yeah. Knight takes b3, rook takes b1, queen takes b2, and so on and so on. And then the game was lost after that. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
So a very memorable game that was. Yeah.
Brilliant game there, Watu. I think it seems like it's a bit like you were just attacking there, but all of these insights you're giving about what you have to think about prophylactically, just to stop ideas, very insightful. I like it. Very, very well played.
And I just want to also add, Calvin and Watu, that it was very instructive for me, A5, A4, and then the opening of the A file, you know, because the thing about the royal pairs that always gets to me is that one must understand it. And then, of course, the Russian grandmasters or the Soviet grandmasters used to say that to be a top player, you must understand the royal pairs. and Watu has illustrated that here in a most remarkable fashion against a top 10 player in the world, Calvin.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah. Maybe it's one question, one last question, Watu, that I have. Like you explained to us on the other show, how to be the grandmaster against Leko. You'd explained his type of his demeanor at the board. He was very confident. He wanted to wipe you off board. How was it playing Judith? Like what was it like sitting physically opposite her? Was she very confident? Was she playing very fast? Or what was the experience like?
She's very confident, very extremely confident, extremely aggressive. I mean, the outside the board, I mean, I remember, she came and she was wearing high heels,
Oh, okay.
because it's it's quiet.
You say
quiet,
that, I thought you were gonna say that's part of tricks in the bag, but
I
it's
think
not
it
just
is.
the knife. The heels are also there.
No. I think it is. Look, I've never worn high heels, but I just always imagine that they are. I imagine that they are quite uncomfortable, So I mean, so but she, she stepped up with the high heels, and quack 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 quack. You feel like, these are the, you when you are sitting down on the board, you imagine that they're actually hitting your head. This is what is coming to you.
Yeah, very interesting stuff there, Watu. Thanks so much for that display there of these two games. Brilliant games. The first game, wow, that concept is brilliant. I'll definitely have to look at that again. But thanks, Watu, for that one. Just by the way, thanks to Chess Coach Net for following as well. Welcome to the show. And Chess Coach says Watu Kobese, wow, very nice. So yeah, and then Lyndon, if you just allow me to, I'll just read one last comment here from Dr. Queenie. Babiki says, great show as well. Thanks, Babiki. So Dr. Queenie says, what do you have played against people? Most of us will always just dream about playing. I would have loved a game against Judith and Karpov. But you always cherish your experiences. With hard work and showing up, you have put yourself in the position to have some amazing experiences. I hope that people will be inspired by your hard work and full immersion what you do. Hats off to you. Thanks, Dr. Queenie, for that
Thank you.
post.
Yeah.
And over to you, London. Are we gonna go back to our library side?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Calvin and Walter. Thank you for showing us these two games. And I think that earlier question, Walter, about your best games, we will have to help you to write it. Even if you don't have the time, we will have to get you, because these are fantastic games, Walter. And I think that we will probably these games against Judith, against Leko, against Georgiev, all of those Nakamura games. I mean, you were talking about earlier, you only have 2 or 3 Olympiads left. And I must tell the viewers that Watu was playing against Grandmaster Eugenio Torre from the Philippines. And I must tell people that Eugenio Torre was Asia's first Grandmaster in 1980. And he has played for the Philippines 23 times at the Olympiad. And if you look at Portage played for Hungary 19 consecutive Olympiads, 56 to 94. So Watu, you've established your same 94 to 2018 as well, and so we hope you still have more Olympiads, obviously, ahead of you as well. But Watu, I haven't finished asking my questions, but there's a curfew. There's a curfew. South Africa has a curfew at 9 o'clock. and we are reaching that curfew now, Watu. So I'm going to ask you to give us a reflection show sometime in March again, because I think it's important for the viewers, Watu, that you are a legend in South African chess. You've been part of the whole tapestry of South African chess scene, and we did tonight a bit of Pachman. We did the 94 Olympiad. We did a bit of the 95 Botswana tournament. You've spoken to us very importantly about South Africa's early days, 94, 92, 94, and even 96. And Watu, I'm going to ask you next time about that game against a Braille player. So just get yourself ready for that 130 move game against the Braille player that you played in Armenia as well. But these are the things that we need to talk about, because the younger players want to know what your secret is to your longevity. Why is it that you've won tournaments in 88, 89, as you said, that whole season, and in 2019 you were still doing it? Because in 2019, you were winning Crossroads Open, you were winning all sorts of tournaments, and you still play at a very high level. So these are the things, some of the secrets that we want to share with the viewers. But from my side, it's been fantastic to have you on the show, Watu, and from my side and the viewers, we enjoy this. And I can tell you, Watu, that many players will look at the YouTube video in a few days' time once Calvin loads it as well, because many viewers go on there. So from my side, Watu, thank you very much. I will then look forward to welcoming you again in March. Watu, any closing words from your side?
Yeah, no, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to reflect on some very memorable times, that one had. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bouah. Thank you, Calvin, for your fantastic show and allowing us to be on your channel. I'd also like to thank the viewers who also borrowed us their time and many fantastic questions and comments. And I'm certainly looking forward to another session that we would, to come back. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Watu. We will certainly look forward to that. International Master Watu Kobese will certainly be coming back on the show, because I think we only got to about the first 6 or 7 years, and we still need to get to the 97 African Team Championship, and then the Chess City one in the Olympiad there, and then of course Turkey in 2000, and then Watu, people may not know this, but you won the SA Close in 98 and 2001, and then you also joined African champion in 2001 as well, and we need to unpack those things as well, because it's important for our history and for our heritage. And one of the things, Calvin, we will also talk about later is that Watu has also written a chess book that was translated into Zulu and into Xhosa as well. And, we need to speak about Watu's contribution in those fields that was important for the contribution to culture and to language development as well. So from my side, Calvin, thank you very much to you and Watu. Calvin, may I announce the guest for next week?
So also just Lyndon, just a moment. I also just want to thank Watu. I've done many thanks over the last couple of shows, so I'll keep it short. Just thanks again, Watu, for joining, and it's always an amazing pleasure and privilege to have you on the show. So thanks, Watu, for that. And Lyndon, you can go ahead and announce who will we be seeing next week on the next episode of Reflections.
Well, Watu, you've mentioned the player when one of the questions was asked about some of the young players, and Calvin and I have decided to break the mold a bit, because we normally have a age group. We normally say you must be 30 and above to be on this show, but we've decided that next week and Tuesday night, we're going to have the South African close champion, Daniel Babish, will be coming onto the show. And he will be sharing a few of his ideas and insights, and also one or two of his games that he has played over the last few years here in South Africa and in Europe. He will still decide which 2 games. So we will look forward to welcoming Daniel Barish next week at 7 o'clock on the show. So Calvin and Watu and the viewers, thank you very much. Do enjoy the evening further.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy your evening. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Watu. See you. Bye.
Thank you.